Okay, well, thanks for sticking with me. All right, so when I left you, we were talking about that movie. So it just so happened it's on at my in-laws' house. I have the time to watch it start to finish. Just a complete strange situation for me because I'm usually a full-time caregiver and cannot pay attention to anything for very long. But I did get to watch that, and it stuck with me, and it was very much in line with my thought processes at the time and just where I was spiritually, sadly. And it helped me to understand that, at least in my case, I was not an atheist because I wanted to be. I desperately didn't want to be an atheist, but I still was one, unfortunately. That was my opinion. I don't make this to make anyone feel judged. I just say this for if you also feel like this is unfortunate, but I don't believe. I was there. So during this time, I was in my first trimester with my second child, and I was so sick that I moved to my mom's house because the apartment that we were living in, the windows would not open. And this was just mind-boggling to me. And during the first trimester, it was in the summer. It was an upstairs apartment with windows that didn't open. I was just like, I can't conquer this mentally. I've got to be somewhere where the windows will open, and thankfully they took me in. That was the last time they would take me in, though, because they were like, if you're going to keep having kids, you're just out in left field and we can't handle this. So, which, I understand, and it was good. It helped me stand on my own 2 feet and not expect anyone to help me. So I was there, and I just started, revisiting, rereading, just faith. I was just sort of sowing to my faith, so to speak. Not necessarily like forcing myself to believe, but just keeping my mind fresh with why people believe. And no baby, and I guess I just say that because in a way, I didn't want my faith to die. I wasn't just like, okay, fine, great, this is the new normal. And soon my faith was back, and it was strong, and I felt even more determined not to lose it. So you can take that to mean whatever you will, whether I conjured it back up for myself, or whether there is something to sowing towards your faith. Like the mustard seed of faith, kind of, that I talked about in the very first part of my conversion story. So anyway, that is what happened. I started reading blogs of women that were believers and different Christian homemaking type of things, and I just kind of got back on my feet as far as being a believer. And this is where I had a new thought about this whole thing. I went back to my apartment, which was an apartment that was over a funeral home, and I am married to a funeral director, so I am the last person to be spooked by things like that. I've never been nervous or spooked. I myself have physically worked on bodies, putting on makeup and doing hair and, covering, unsightly places on a deceased person at a funeral home. And it was not any kind of spooky feeling. So, but this is what happened. I went into my apartment and I was putting laundry in the laundry machine, in the washing machine, and this thought came across my mind, very strong, you know, so strong that it stood out. There is no God.
No.
And at that point, it was so foreign to what I had been thinking that I had this sensation that came from outside of me. That sounded exactly like my own voice in my own head, except for I haven't thought that way in, 2 or 3 months. Where did that thought come from? It was inspired by nothing. I was doing laundry. I wasn't thinking about anything deep or complicated. And this is where you may part ways with me and be like, I just don't believe that. But I believe it was a demon. I believe it was an evil spirit, a fallen angel, whatever, impersonating my own thoughts in my own brain. Lucifer and the fallen angels are intelligent beings. And they are more intelligent than you are. You shouldn't be offended by that. I mean, they're angels. There's also good angels and guardian angels that are also more intelligent than us. And that was the problem when, with Lucifer and the angels that followed him, which somebody might comment down below if you know it, like a third of the angels decided to go with Lucifer rather than stay and serve. And that was what's so special about St. Michael the Archangel, is his word that he said was serviam, which means I will serve. Even though humans are inferior to us. Sit down. Even though they are, I will still serve the Lord in taking care of them as he's asked us to. So, okay. So I believe part of the problem with being atheist is probably being under some sort of oppression. There you go. And I have had other struggles with it. When I had my last child, when was that? It's been almost 2 years ago. I had a panic attack, and I was also doing the 54-day Rosary Novena, and during that time, I realized both at the same time how weak my faith was and how strong my faith was. So I kept having panic attacks, one panic attack after another. It was terrible. I begged people to get me to a hospital, to put me on some sort of medication because it was so strong. I felt like I was so out of control. And I kept praying the rosary. And I have to say, it was not helping. And that was not helping my faith.